What do I really want to do though today? That's the better question. Because the PTR is coming up. Hmm, like, not today, but it's coming up soon. I mean, not necessarily going to do anything in particular with the PTR. I think, uh, well, in like season 22, that was before the Emanate stuff, so uh, back then we used to wear Flavor of Time on ourselves, which is why I'm showing the gear on on the bottom left. That was my setup at the time of season 22. So basically, we're gonna wear uh Scripts necklace, and then it's about the same. So that's the biggest change, and then obviously Guardian rework, so Guardians for the beginning. Yeah, which cuts into the problem of, which cuts into another yet another problem of I want to play around with elusive rain, and yet we can't really do that, right? Because we have to sit the Royal Ring, and then the COE is stronger, obviously. Um, but you can opt to use elusive for fun, right? So that you can pull more um and stuff. And that was how it was with elusive rain. You get to pull more elite packs together before clearing them. And so that was one way to play back then, especially with the missile dampening stuff. You tank a lot more. It was easier to play bigger conduit plays as well because of that. So there is an opportunity to not play Guardians too much longer, but Guardian rework is just so good in helping the early damage portion, which the COE is like third slot to people, but to me it's more of a fourth slot basis. So that's why I have the bottom left planner in that way. Um, yeah, we will see. We will see whether I want to test stuff or not, or just not waste my RNG in the PTR. I'll think about it depending on whether I have someone to play together on the PTR. Then we will just find out from there um, if we want to like you know check out the leaderboard um, performance, perhaps. I think I mean that's the main thing, right? Is to check out how different it's going to feel from season 22 for those of us that have played season 22. I think that it would enable us to test more about what it feels like, especially the scaling of the clones too. Back then, I felt like when we hit near GR 120, it was sort of falling off already, but scaling though with the Squirt's necklace, hmm, I think it'll be a good test, and I think that's another reason why the PTR is up there. It's to test the scaling of the power impact on certain changes, especially like I don't know Natalia's set, and yeah. So I don't know if it's gonna be like helpful around 120 to 125 roughly, or that it could be higher with the scaling portion, because back then I was also, you know, I just started being a little bit better at the game, I would say, because I've only played several full seasons, mainly season 4, 11, 12, partial 13, skipped all the way to 16, full 16, and then I skipped all that until I came back in 21, right? So it was like I was starting to finally grasp better about seasonal gameplay by playing multiple different seasons. Although there were a lot of seasons that were quite important to understand too and to learn, which was between 17 to 20. I did play a bit of season 31 last time with the triple threat cube that was, I think, around the 17 to 20 where it was. The triple threat cube probably in season 20 or something like that. But like, I think there was a lot to learn during that time and I didn't play. So season 22 was kind of like the moment when I finally um, started uh, trying more on the Greater Rift aspect, which was how I got to 136 back in season 22. And speaking of the season 22 136, right, that's a good benchmark for me to test for the PTR, I guess, although we've already played with Squirt's Necklace, so we kind of know what to expect with that. It just depends on the scaling of the clones at the point of around 120 when it was beginning to feel a lot weaker. That the scaling, if the scaling made sense or makes sense, then it would benefit all the way to 125. So maybe a 5 tier scaling difference. But again, it just comes down to what the scaling or whether it's still glitchy with any hidden issues, and that's why a PTR is popping up where they didn't really need a PTR for several seasons previously. I think that they're doing this because of how it was after Emanate, and that back then there wasn't as much scaling stuff going on with more increments of damage. So they're testing to see that it complies with all the reworks and the slight changes in equipment so that we can see that that the doubling is actually making sense. Of course, I'm not one to say that I like to use bare minimum gear to test things out, but I believe there will be people that do that, right? And so for me, I will just probably, if I were to play, I'm just gonna probably just play to push God DH again to see how far different I will play up to 136 again or not. Obviously, my flavor of time back then was really good with the elemental trifecta flavor of time. So I would say that based on necklace, Squirt's necklace goes, I think I can get close to 140 with how much I've learned since then. But how much time do I really want to invest in decking out the gear in order to test? You know, last time I had, motivation from another person where we were kind of having a friendly competition to uh, wear as many primals as we can before quote unquote pushing. And so she wore like what 11 pieces or something like that, and I wore like I think it was 7 or 9 pieces. So it was just like a little friendly competition of how much we want to stay at the cube messing around with gear. So in the end, it's all about that, I guess. Um, and then testing how much we want to push and making videos for pushing preparation, I guess. So that's the most interesting part is to make the video and showcase that, you know, tested this, tested that, um, tested the range of the pushing, uh, and how much whether the clones does help around the 120 still, or whether it's glitchy or whatever, right? So we'll find out. We'll find out. It's what? Isn't it like the 17 they said that it starts? So 17th through 24th, something like that. Yeah, 17th. So that's in a few days. So maybe perhaps I'll think about it. I'll think about it. Um, maybe ask around uh to some friends if they want to try or that they just want to play the actual season because it's just kind of like a time waste and in a sense of time wasting it's like do you want to test it in a group sense and what you want to do as a group too, right? um where solo pushing is just solo stuff, and at that point you could just wait for the season, and then the gear is more locked in, it's slightly more realistic as well. So it just comes down to I believe just making video of you know play testing, uh and and that goes with what I want to be doing, just to see how a 136 feels, um just from the old uh traditional god DH especially. I think, I mean, I've already started playing traditional god DH in this one, right? Where it feels okay. I reached the Rift Guardian several different times. I was still behind time for my 149 and whatnot. But like the Squirt's Necklace gameplay is just not the same as Season 22, right? So that gives a different kind of testing, um, for those of us who have played Season 22 before. Whereas for others that haven't, it's a little bit repetitive, more or less, aside from the fourth cube slot being newer, and the shadow clones, of course. But uh, that scaling is something to test for to see how far it would actually help us. But I also believe that in the higher push, it's only gonna give us like it's kind of like the margin of, well, here's the other part about testing. I believe is also if we stand in the potion powers, are they gonna be scaling like when we stand there on there, the timings, like that initial timing, or like that two, right? So it needs to RNG the pinkish red, the power ring, right? So we have two chances of a power ring during shrine pylon gameplay, and so we'll have to test with that too. But anyway, we'll get into all that, I guess, in the PTR. Uh, I'll decide to see if there's somebody that wants to like try around and make it more fun than just. I mean, I enjoy when there's more people to hang around with for PTR purposes. But if not, I usually just want to make sure that my items are kept and locked in with seasonal gameplay instead. So it's a hit or miss kind of situation. And again, I'm still trying the 149 at some point, and so this is like a little distracting per se. We'll find out. Um, I guess I guess I just wanted to give some idea of season 22 popping on, and then I'll make some highlights later. Um, but yeah, I'm gonna think about it. I'm gonna think about the PTR. Gonna plan for it. Uh, see who wants, And PTR is more global, so you can fit a lot more friends globally, right? So it's more concise with the right topics and whatnot. They'll be titled correctly with respective topics. I didn't write down the timestamps myself, but it is short enough to manually look through them, skim through them. Um, so thank you so much.